Join me as I invite you to take on the challenge to completely declutter our minds of others' opinions and find our own voice in 2024. Mental decluttering is a powerful concept that can revolutionize the way we think, feel, and live our lives. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of others' opinions, expectations, and judgments, and instead cultivating a deeper sense of self awareness, self acceptance, and self love. I want to talk about why freeing yourself from others' opinions is crucial for personal growth. But before I carry on, can I ask you a massive favor? If my channel gives you value, any value at all, even if it just makes you smile, would you be an absolute sweetheart and consider subscribing? I'm almost at 1 million subscribers. Well, I will be when I've got another 999,232. So any help you can give me to get me over the line would be greatly appreciated and totally wonderful. And I do appreciate that it needs to be a massive shove on a daily basis, 24 hours a day. But we're aiming for the stars and we'll be happy if we get to the top of the coconut tree. And I did hear that phrase the other night on the television, and I thought that it was a great analogy for this channel. But I digressed. Back to normal. We've all been there, scrolling through social media, comparing our lives to others and feeling like we're just not good enough. We've all felt the pressure to conform to societal norms, to fit in, and to seek validation from others. I mean, who doesn't want a like? The truth is, when we allow others' opinions to dictate our self worth, we lose ourselves in the process. We become like chameleons, changing colors to blend in with our surroundings instead of embracing our unique identity. We constantly morph into different versions of ourselves to please other people. We start to doubt our own abilities, question our decisions, and fear taking risks. In the end, we don't even recognize the people that we've become. Social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and God forbid, Twitter can be particularly toxic. They're a breeding ground for self doubt, anxiety, depression, and we're constantly bombarded with curated highlight reels manipulating us into believing that everyone else's life is way more exciting, more successful, and more fulfilling than our own. And don't even get me started on all those filters that change the way you look so you look completely different in full makeup. And then, I don't know, I suspect those young girls that use them are worried about going out in their normal face. I mean, that is incredibly sad, isn't it? They just look totally different. Then there's the fear of criticism, the fear of speaking the truth, of being rejected, being judged, and being ostracized, especially if you're a YouTube creator. How many of us have experienced less than kind comments? It's a heavy burden to carry and it's debilitating. But what if I told you there's a way to break free from this cycle of self doubt and fear? What if I told you you have the power to declutter your mind of others' opinions and cultivate a sense of self acceptance, self love, and self worth? Yes, what if? What if I told you that? Mindfulness practices can be incredibly powerful in helping us cultivate greater sense of self-awareness. By focusing on the present moment, we can begin to tune out the noise of others' opinions and tune in to our own inner voice. We can start to recognize when we're people pleasing, when we're seeking validation, and when we're trying to fit in. And once we recognize these patterns, we can start to make changes. Speaking as a lifelong people pleaser, it took me until I was 45 to change the habit that had never served me well. Such a lot of years that I wasted of my life. I was that chameleon who changed into whatever someone else wanted me to be because I wasn't quite good enough. I would morph into something that never fitted well with me. And once I had changed, well, they didn't like that person either. It was exhausting. I had so many conflicting opinions saying I was this or I was that type that by the time I hit 45, I really needed help. The burden of dragging around a trunk full to bursting of others' opinions had worn me down. So I went on a neuro-linguistic programming course, NLP. And it was during that course that I came to realize that none of those expert opinions on me were true. That revelation set me on a path of personal growth, and I've never looked back. In fact, there isn't a person on this earth that could convince me that I'm not a generous and kind soul who wants to do good for people, even the ones I've never met. It was my biggest lesson ever when I learned to say no instead of constantly saying yes. I used to worry how I was going to tell someone I didn't want to do something, but once I'd done it once and the world didn't end, I did it again. It's a bit like your decluttering muscles. The more you do it, the stronger you get. And now I've decluttered my loft twice, and there's very little up there that I've kept. And it's liberating. Focusing on self-acceptance is also key. We need to learn to love and accept ourselves, flaws and all. We need to recognize that we're not perfect, and that's okay. We need to acknowledge our strengths, our weaknesses, and our quirks. And goodness only knows I have a ton of those. All those symptoms of ADHD I call being quirky. Well, I just accept them as what makes me the fabulous woman you see before you today. We need to learn to embrace the changes in ourselves as we age and learn to accommodate them. There's a transformative moment that happens when you realize that your self-worth is not determined by others. It's a moment of profound liberation, of unshackling yourself from the chains of external validation. You start to see that your worth is not based on someone else's opinion, but on your own inherent value as a human being. In this moment, you start to feel a sense of freedom, of empowerment, and of confidence. You start to trust yourself, your decisions, and your intuition. After all, intuition is all those little tiny bits of information that your subconscious absorbs whilst you're not even thinking about it and lodges in your brain for free. And if you ignore it, if you ignore your intuition, then it'll come to bite you in the bum. So take notice of it. You start to take risks. You start to speak your mind. You start to speak the truth and live life on your own terms. The power of self-affirmation cannot be overstated. When we affirm our own wealth and our own value, no matter what age we are, young or old, we start to break free from the shackles of others' opinions. We start to feel that we're not defined by what others think of us, but by who we are as individuals. So I want to leave you with a challenge today over those of others. I want to challenge you to declutter your mind of external noise and focus on cultivating a deeper sense of self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-love. You are the expert on you. Nobody else knows you better. No one, not a soul on this earth. You know you like nobody else does. If you're feeling inspired to share your own experiences, struggles, and triumphs with mental decluttering, please leave a comment below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos on self-improvement, personal growth, decluttering, and mindfulness. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.